this last algorithm update that came about last year, where it wiped out a bunch of these AI sites, was because they didn't spend any time on branding. They didn't create additional profiles. They didn't create any socials. They didn't create anything. And they didn't let Google know that all of those things were part of the brand that they were building. So all these websites just absolutely tanked. And everybody's like, AI content doesn't work. I'm like, no, you didn't do the basis of building a business. You went ahead, threw up an affiliate website, pretended it was 2004 AdSense, and just hoped for the best.
You're watching Marketing Misfits with Norm Farrar and Kevin Cade.
Mr. Norm Farrar.
Un job wunderbar. How are you, Mr.? No, I was trying to do German because he just got back from Germany.
Oh, I did. I just got back from speaking at a couple events in Berlin, Germany, which was cool. About 500 and some and change e-com sellers. So it was.
You know what?
It was good.
I never heard anybody say Berlin so sexy. Berlin, Germany.
Berlin, Germany. It's a cool city. It reminds me of the Austin of Europe. It's got a little decadence to it. It's got a lot of nightlife, got a good food scene, got some good history. And yeah, it's kind of like it's a fun place to go.
Lederhosen and beer.
Lederhosen and beer and lots of e-com, lots of business people.
There we go. Well, that's what you need. Did you have a cigar?
I did not, but I got offered a cigar, but it was too cold to go outside, and so I did not do the cigar. But it was I was offered one by Alina's husband, actually. So, but he was there, but no cigars. But I thought of you when I was in the cold. I was like, so this is what Norm was like living up in the Great White North.
Oh, that's nothing. That's nothing.
I mean, it was so cold that I had a piece of junk, like just windbreaker jacket that I brought with me because I live in Texas. We don't get too much cold here. So I'd already planned it out when I went to Berlin. I was like, you know what, Berlin. I've been there before, and I noticed there's this one street that has all these like really nice like designer and fashion shops and good quality stuff. And Berlin's further north, and so I was like, they get cold. I was like, you know what, there's probably some good jackets there. So on Friday night. I did my research online, found out where the best places are, read some Reddit posts and stuff and people reviewing different things. And I went to a couple different shops, and I ended up buying the 700 euros wool jacket, a really nice jacket. I got to wear it the next day one time. And then coming back yesterday, I go to the airport. I had a 6 a.m. flight out of Berlin to Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt to the States. And I put my bag, my computer bag on the bin, on the X-ray thing. I put my other little carry-on bag on there, and then I put my coat in one of the other trays. And I put my coat in the middle of the three trays. And when it's coming out on the other side, the security person had switched the trays around. And so they put my coat as the third tray instead of the middle tray. And when the second tray came out, it was my computer bag, and it got sent off on the secondary chute to go get an inspection, a hand inspection. And so when I saw that happen, I just naturally went over to the hand inspection place, totally forgetting that I had a coat in the third tray, which was supposed to be in the second tray. And I did that on purpose so that I would see it. But I totally forgot. Went to my gate, took my stuff and went to my gate, and sitting at the gate going, why does everybody got a coat on and I don't? And I was like, oh, shoot. I left my coat back a mile back. It's about a mile back at the damn thing. I was like, well, they just want a donation to the German society. So some homeless person in Germany,
TSA person,
brand new, really nice long wool coat. So yep. that was my cost to go.
Very, very good. Very good. So I'm glad that I'm not the only person losing my memory. You're catching up, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I don't wear jackets. I mean, it's like rare. So it's just not a natural thing for me to remember to do it. And when they messed up my system where I put it in the middle so I would not miss it. And they switched the trays around for some reason, whatever reason. It just, is what.
You want to talk about marketing with trays?
Marketing with
seen
trays.
It? Have you seen the trays now that on the bottom of the trays, they have advertisements?
Oh yeah, that McDonald's and people have been doing that with the little placemat things the whole time, a long time. But yeah,
No, I'm talking about in the TSA tray.
Oh, in the TSA tray. Yeah, I have seen little ads in there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen a couple. Where did I see that? Yeah, I actually have seen that.
You've probably seen it here in Toronto. I don't know. I've seen it before, and I just don't know where. But as soon as it's going to be like a hockey rink, you'll have it on the sides, on the ice, or the plastic surface. Yeah, valuable space. Valuable.
I mean, it's value. Speaking of valuable space, I mean, valuable. The internet is some valuable space, and there's a lot going on out there in the marketing world that a lot of people, I think, just don't really understand when it comes to like SEO, or when it comes to search engine optimization, or to ranking different things. And that's that's something that I think our guest today is going to shed some light on. That some cool stuff that people just don't realize is either happening to them, or cool stuff you can do as a marketer that you don't even realize.
Kevin, before I got on, I was talking to our guest, Dan Kurtz, and he is going to tell you, probably this is, depending on when this airs, something that's going to blow everybody's mind. This new Google update has changed the game for everybody in every website as of just a couple of days ago. So it's changed the face of search engine optimization, and we're going to get into that with Dan. So why don't we bring in our guest, because this is super cool. We just started talking about it, and then you popped on. But all right, so let's welcome Dan Kurtz, Mr. SEO. How are you, sir? Oh, I can't hear you.
Well, it'd be a lot
there
better
we
if
go.
I knew how to hit the button. How's it going, guys?
Good.
It's good, man. See, I knew you were a cool guy when we met you in Orlando at the AI Bot Summit, I think it was. And we came out one night, and Norm and I were just out there minding our own business, freezing our nuts off, smoking a cigar, and out comes you and a couple other people, and you're not even wearing a coat, and everybody else is just like shivering, and you're like, it's like a summer day here. We're smoking cigars, and that's one of the cool things about, some people look down upon cigar smoking, and they're like, oh, that's nasty, that's gross. But some of the best business connections at events for Norm and I come out of smoking cigars, because I don't know, it's happened several times where we're just smoking, and it's an instant bond, instant thing where you come out like, hey, can we join you? Versus go sit in your own little corner and have your own discussion. And then that led to us going the next night, I think, to a cigar bar. And I think you had recommended, or someone recommended it. And Norm and I went over there. It's like, we might be the only ones. And then you show up, and it's like we had some great conversations, some great times. It's just that's the power of events. And then when you find a common bond, and then we start talking about, hey, we should do a whole event in Tampa for CMS and the whole 9 yards, and just went from there, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say that a lot when I go to events too. It's like I look for 3 C's. It's the content, the community, and the camaraderie. And like if those 3 are good, then it's an event that I will return to. And just hanging out with you guys, like I'm more than willing to go to another event as long as you guys show up. I'll bring the stick.
I just got some. I just messaged Norm yesterday. I was coming back from Frankfurt, and I went through the duty free, and they had these like $40,000 bottles of whiskey, like in these little cases. And I was like, I took a picture and posted one online, sent one to my buddy Mark. It's like, I almost bought this for you, but the credit card didn't go, or something. So, so then I took a picture of like a 35,000 euro one, said, but I was able to get it to go on this one for you. But they had a little cigar humidor there, and I went in. They had all these Cubans, and it was like limit 1 per passenger back to the United States. And I was like, it's going to be my luck. I'm going to buy these Cubans, and something's going to happen, and they're going to take them away. But I'm pretty sure you can bring them in now. So I bought one. I bought some Romeo and Juliets, Cuban Romeo and Juliets instead of Nicaraguan ones. But they had Year of the Dragon there, and they had Year of the Dragon, which is a cigar that Norm and I really like. It's a Davidoff cigar. And here in the States, they're about $150. In Canada, they're probably like $1,000 a stick. But in the States, they're about $150 a stick. And they had them on, and they had a sign there that said promotion, Year of the Dragon case €499, marked down from €899. And I was like looking around, and there was no cases left. The only one left was the display. And I was like, So I found the empty box like behind the counter or sitting on the ground. So I grabbed the empty box. It says "smoking kills," all over the top of it, just like they do in Canada, and then slid the thing in there with all 10 cigars and went and bought it. So $50 a stick instead of $150 a stick. So I was a happy camper. So I got some of my $700 back from losing.
Nice. So, just on that, you want to talk about marketing and cigar marketing. Take a look at that case. So I don't know if we'll be able to show this on the podcast when it's released, but the Davidoff Royals or Year of the Dragons or what? Okay, whatever they do, they create a work of art. And these cases, just they're marketing pieces by themselves. When you finish the cigars, you want to hold on to these cases just because of the quality. And there's a lot of other high-end cigars that they do this as well. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, Dan. These high-end, like, look at this case. It's
real pretty.
Pop off the side, pull out the cigars.
Oh, that's pretty.
It's gorgeous. Yep. So, Kevin, do any of those have my name on it?
There's one that has an N. Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
I didn't know. I know if that was normal or norm, nomad or something.
Whatever you want to call me. So let's.
I just call you Daddy.
Sometimes. So let's get into this. Just before the call, I want to just get this out there because people just don't realize what just happened. And you want to talk about this and how huge this is going to change every website or many websites?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have several friends in the SEO space that own tools, different things for rank tracking, reporting, figuring out optimizations. And a lot of my friends last week were saying that they were having a problem where Google apparently turned on JavaScript. So you have to have JavaScript now in order to browse Google search results. What that means is for anybody that's using any kind of scraper, parser, or third-party APIs, last week everybody was in a scramble to figure out how to get around this. So what's happening now is a lot of people are using what's called a headless browser, which allows you to use JavaScript. It's a programming term. A lot of guys are familiar with it if you do data scraping or anything like that with an API. And in doing this, what that now does is Google can tell binarily if you are using a headless browser versus a regular browser, which means Google can now determine what is a bot and what is a human. And what I can only speculate is that they're doing this because they're probably about to roll out something very large and very expensive that they only want humans to be able to see in the search results. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. But I know based on that, they were probably just trying to block bots because Google's number one generator is obviously ad revenue. Their big thing is being able to do click fraud detection, things like that. That's what they specialize in determining that stuff with the ads. So I imagine they turned it on to block people from running bots and killing people's ad budgets and, sending defectors away to different ad networks. But I think it's probably going to have long-term implications for anybody that's developing a tool that relies on scraping Google's data services in the near future.
So this is completely going away from anything text-based, right?
It's so you will still be able to make the text request, but your browser has to be able to handle the JavaScript and CSS when it comes in. So probably will, as my friend put it, probably double or triple the amount of time per request that you send because it's got to render all that stuff, but you'll still have the same thing.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Kevin and Norm here with a quick word from one of our sponsors, 8Fig. Let me tell you about a platform that's changing the game for Amazon sellers. That's right, it's called 8Fig. On average, sellers working with 8Fig grow up to 400% in less than a year.
8Fig offers both funding and free tools for e-commerce growth and cash flow management. And here's how it works.
8Fig provides flexible, data-driven funding tailored to your exact needs. They can fund anywhere from up to $50,000 all the way up to $10 million.
8Fig gives you free tools to forecast demand, manage inventory, and analyze cash flow.
Visit 8fig.co, that's 8fig.co, to learn more or check the link in the show notes below.
Just mention Marketing Misfits and get 25% off your cost.
That's 8fig.co, 8fig.co. See you on the other side.
So we talk about opportunities, just jumping on opportunities when it happens. The way that we marketed 30 years ago when I kind of got into it, right up until now, just up until a couple of years ago, or even 6 months ago, things change and you've got to be able to turn on a dime. And that's what we like as entrepreneurs. Yeah. How is this going to open up opportunity for new marketers or new SEO people?
So it's going to open an opportunity, I think, in the tool market, the tool sector, because now you have to load all that information from Google. So that means you can see things you wouldn't normally see. So for example, one of my friends had built a JavaScript bookmarklet that allows you to go ahead and open up the people also ask, that little question box that shows up in Google. But what his tool does is it also grabs the source from that question. So it grabs the question, the answer, and then it grabs the URL of where that exists in Google's data center. So when you're filling out the FAQ on the page, you can actually put the citation link as Google's own data center. It'll tell you the exact block and location of that piece of text and where it got pulled from. So when Google goes to reference that page, they go, "Where'd you get the question?" They go, "Oh, from us." So
so that's completely different than what Phrase.io does. And by giving you that mind map of the top number one blogs, and they're pulling it from people also ask, but it doesn't go that deep, does it?
Right, because it's a surface level text scraper. But if you get into the weeds and you see how some of the JavaScript stuff now works, and I've got plenty of friends that work on Black Hat tools as well, and they like doing script stuff and figuring out, how do we extract this data? How do we find this piece of information? And now with Google making it a requirement to now have JavaScript, they can see anything that Google might be running in the background and go, aha, I can stop this process in my browser, or I can do something with that JavaScript as it comes in and manipulate it and get a different result than what Google wants, and be able to play with that so that they can feed back custom data to their users.
So I just got one other question, Kevin. I know I'm keep interrupting here, but this is just fascinating. So for the people that are listening right now that aren't into SEO, aren't techies, why is it so important that, like you were talking about, going back and actually finding the block it came from? Why is that important to marketers, or why is that important for people developing their website or SEO?
Sure. So the reason behind it is because Google has a fascination with itself. Google very much is Narcissus. So if you were to go ahead and build a Google site, Google will give that priority for ranking because it's a google.com domain. It's a subdomain, but it still has the weight of google.com behind it. So they recognize that authority, that brand, and obviously they trust themselves. Same thing when it comes to any of the data that you're pulling for creating your website or anything else. Google wants to see where you're citing the information from, where you're getting your data, especially now in the world we live in with augmented AI, blog post generation, content creation, all of that. If you can tell Google, hey, here's the source, and by the way, here's the data center URL that we found for it, or here's the string of text and where it's located in your system. Now you're not playing a game of, hey, here's a question somebody may have asked. We're saying that, no, you index that piece of information and you are holding on to it. We're just writing a piece of content about that post or about that question that you have. So now you're essentially, it's a giant feedback loop. That's a lot of what SEO is you do something, it's a feedback loop. Google figures out where in their ecosystem your page fits, and then it tries to scuffle it in there.
All right.
In doing stuff like that, this is the next iteration of it.
So you've been doing this like 15 years. You've been involved in the SEO. What got you into this SEO game? I mean, you become like a master, like a ninja master. And just talking to you at that cigar bar, you're just laying out stuff. What really got you down this SEO path and it made you one of the best out there?
So I wouldn't say I'm one of the best out there. I know plenty of people that are good at what they do, and we all kind of have our own thing. So like one of the guys I work with, his name is Ted Kabaitis. He has a tool that's really good at figuring out reporting. Some other folks that I know are really good at building private blog networks, specific networks for links. Other people like Terry Samuels are very good at schema. People like Mike Merlino are excellent at figuring out GMB and brand authority for local businesses, different types of things. So not necessarily great.
Yours
but,
would be the creativity with it, right?
So my big thing is playing with systems and automations and figuring out how to build not necessarily a better mousetrap, but how do we streamline the data we're already using? How do we make better workflows? How do we make it so that we're giving Google the data they want out of their own system, literally handing them and saying, hey, here's the filet mignon recipe you asked for. By the way, it's from your cookbook. Like, you can't get much better than that. But this all started probably back in like 2006, which is when I really got into it. I was going to college at the time, and that was the year that India and the Philippines came online. And they were doing all the outsourcing of graphic design. At the time, I was going to college for graphic design, and I went, well, crap. I've got to go figure out something to do. So I started looking into different forms of advertising, marketing, something else, because I liked the idea of creating an ad, but seeing as they were coming online and being able to do it cheaper, faster, better, initial panic as a 20 something. Okay, what can I do that's not going to be, how do I become indispensable to a business? And started looking up, website development and then marketing and paid advertising. PPC with Google was relatively new. I think that was like 2004 that it came out. So it was like 2 years in. Started learning that, and then stumbled upon SEO, which was being able to perpetually generate traffic or to generate organic traffic through different means. So I went down that rabbit hole, learned the whole rank and rent scenario, building out websites and businesses and optimizing title tags, and just read everything I possibly could about it. And instantly I was hooked. Dropped every video game that I was playing at that time and went, this is it. This is my new version of Xbox, Call of Duty, Halo, whatever. I don't want to do any of that stuff anymore. This is the payoff. Like, I would rather do SEO and get a paycheck than sit there and play Call of Duty for 12 hours a day and get nothing,
So has this been with your own company, or were you working for someone initially before branching out?
So I'd initially just started doing it and learning it by myself, and then started applying for jobs for it once I felt I was, competent enough to do it. And a lot of times applying for those jobs was ranking for the company name with my own webpage. So they would have a listing for whatever the job was, and I would rank for that job listing with their company name in it and show up above it. And they were like, hey, you need to take that page down. I'm like, so do I have the job? Yes, take the page down. Okay, cool. I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah.
That was how I started getting my first couple clients.
And how hard was it to rank?
It's some of them were like local marketing companies, so it wasn't terribly difficult, but it was stuff they were ignoring.
What about going forward now? So going into 2025 and forward, what are some of the new SEO techniques that you're seeing on the market?
So there's not really, SEO doesn't change nearly as much as people think it does. Pretty much since the Panda Penguin update, it's been pretty much the same. And those were back in like 2009. So we've been doing pretty much the same stuff for forever. And everybody tries to put their own spin on it and call it topical maps or this, that, and the other, whatever. But well-structured content that's relevant to the user. And then on the back end, making sure that you are branded, making sure you're an authority in the space, and making sure that Google can find other sites that reference you. This last algorithm update that came about last year, where it wiped out a bunch of these AI sites, was because they didn't spend any time on branding. They didn't create additional profiles. They didn't create any socials. They didn't create anything. And they didn't let Google know that all of those things were part of the brand that they were building. So all these websites just absolutely tanked. And everybody's like, AI content doesn't work. I'm like, no, you didn't do the basis of building a business. You went ahead, threw up an affiliate website, pretended it was 2004 AdSense, and just hoped for the best. So like if they had spent some time, putting together some branded content, opening Canva and making the little templates for, their YouTube thumbnails and all this other sort of stuff, and actually creating content other than just the blog posts, they would have cleaned house, but they didn't.
So, we've been talking to our clients about the importance of just being very diverse, not just having the website, like you said, building that authority, or having the Google business profile, or having the social media consistent with your brand, as well as creating content, but doing lots of content that it's not necessarily lots of content, but quality content, and just kind of updating it every quarter, something along those lines. But just so you can be diverse, show that you have a brand and that you have authority. So I think authority is damn important.
Yeah, exactly. And the way I look at it from, especially now in 2025, there's a million different ways that people are browsing content. You've got the LLMs scraping content from people's websites and figuring out who's the de facto, again, based on branding and authority, how many other sites are talking about you. Figuring out, well, if you typed in, well, what's the best coffee place in, Waukegan, Minnesota, it'll come up with a list based on these Google profiles and these websites that back it up, and it'll tell you. Things like Amazon products, for example. There was a thing a couple months ago, and this is fun for you guys to know, is everybody's familiar with Perplexity, right? The data LLM. Well, they started doing this thing where if you plugged in, what are the best watches for men in 2025, it would come back with a list of 5 or 10 watches. The trick is that they were inserting their own Amazon affiliate code onto each one of those links. So now they're sponsored URLs inside of a GPT. So now you can't.
Sneaky little guys, just like honey.
Right.
Sliding something in there on the side.
Right. But what does that do for their rapport as essentially quote unquote unbiased data engine? If they're scraping data and now coming back with, oh, well, these are the best watches for 2025 because these are the highest commission ones that we can find on Amazon right now with our affiliate tag attached.
Totally against totally against TOS.
Yeah. But they were doing that. I don't know if they still are, but as of, I want to say like November, they were still doing it. But, things like.
How do you trust? I mean, when it comes to SEO, the average person online has no clue about search engine optimization. They're just a user going, what are the best watches to buy for Father's Day? Mm-hmm. And up comes a whole bunch of sites, and they don't realize that probably 90 to 99%, maybe even 100% of those are all gamed. Yeah. But their rankings, they're not necessarily, they might be, if it's consumer reports, there might be some legitimacy to it, maybe a little bit. But if it's just the average top 10 watches for Father's Day, it's all affiliate based. It's all SEO based. And from a user's point of view, not from the marketer's point of view, but from a user's point of view, how do you ascertain what's real and what's not? Norm and I do this when we're on Amazon. We can tell, fake reviews. We can tell a bad listing. We can tell instantly. We just have that gut feeling and experience. But from an SEO point of view, when you see it, how do you know instantly that this is a BS SEO website that was created to rank number one?
So most of the time, it's not well thought out. You can find plenty of typos in there, or you'll find the common GPT or AI buzzwords in a lot of the content.
Dive deep.
Yeah, let's delve into the world of watches for men in 2020.
Unlocking the secrets.
It says conclusion at the end.
Right.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
All these blog posts that say conclusion at the end. I hate that.
But that's
formatted. And Norm was like, SEO. That was for SEO. I was like, yeah, but I can tell that's I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, it's a layout.
Yeah, it's and that speaks to a lot of things too.
So like schema, right? That's a schema.
It can be schema, yeah. So schema is, in the grand scheme of SEO, you have all your on-page stuff. So I look at it in like orders of magnitude. So like the basic thing is like your headings and your subheadings. So your H1s, 2s, 3, 4, 5, 6, all that kind of stuff. Within that, you have your paragraphs and italics and bolds and keywords. That makes up most of the content. And then you have some of your off-page stuff. How many referring domains are linking? What kind of backlinks are you getting? What neighborhoods are they from? Things like that make up the majority of it. As you go down that list, it gets more and more difficult. So the way I look at schema is if you're running a marathon, schema is the last 20 feet of the marathon. It is the thing where if you've maxed out and you've matched everybody else in the space and you are duking it out between you and some other guy and he doesn't have schema, If you spend the time to do it, and the reason I put it as later on the list is because you're recreating an entire web page in JSON, which is a JavaScript language. So you have to recode your entire website so that it's machine readable and then stick that on the page. It'll get you over the finish line, but the amount of work and resource and time intensive labor it takes to do that, as opposed to going and building 25 links to your website, is just night and day difference as how much time you'll spend versus the rate of return.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor, Levanta. Hey, Kevin, tell us a little bit about it.
That's right, Amazon sellers. Do you want to skyrocket your sales and boost your organic rankings? Meet Levanta, Norm and I's secret weapon for driving high-quality external traffic straight to our Amazon storefronts using affiliate marketing. That's right, it's achieved through direct partnerships with leading media outlets like CNN, Wirecutter, and BuzzFeed, just to name a few, as well as top affiliates, influencers, bloggers, and media buyers, all in Levanta's marketplace, which is home to over 5,000 different creators that you get to choose from.
So are you ready to elevate your business? Visit get.levanta.io/misfits. That's get.levanta, LEVANTA.io/misfits, and book a call, and you'll get up to 20% off Levanta's gold plan today. That's get.levanta.io/misfits.
Interesting. So how are you, I've seen stuff where there's been mixed bag with AI and SEO, where it's a $91 billion industry. And I've seen stories where people are like, all the SEO people are freaking out that AI is going to kill this whole business. And the SEO guys are like, no, you guys need to take a chill pill. There's nothing here. And I see Neil Patel now pushing out stuff like SEO is changing in 2025. You got to start talking to the machines and start changing everything to intent-based and all this kind of stuff. Where are you seeing this going? And how are we going to filter through the junk and the AI learning from other garbage AI because of all this SEO?
So that's going to be a couple of different things. It's going to be whoever's writing the content, their understanding of the topical authority of what they're writing about. So they can go ahead and blast out a 5,000 word article and get it done. That's fine. But you're going to have to go back in and put in stuff that nobody else has. Like if you're taking, for example, what you had said earlier, best watches for men for Father's Day. That's a very specific keyword. And in fact, that's the intent behind the intent. So that phrase that you just said, instead of it being best men's watches, like men's watches is the root keyword, right? But best men's watches for Father's Day is a very specific subset of the market. You're looking for people who are probably between the ages of 22 and 65 plus, who have had kids, who are, you're probably dealing with a woman who is trying to buy something for her husband. So it's that article needs to speak to that person very specifically about what would their husband like about that watch? What would, as a spouse, what are you trying to get your significant other? Are they a flashy person? Do they want something that's a smartwatch, or, like one of those hidden smartwatches? Like they've got some of the ones that have like the screen behind the dial. Like what type of watch are you looking for? And then breaking it down by like, here's your budget, here's your styling, and then having those pieces. And that's stuff that AI is not going to know. Like it's not going to know the difference between the variations of a Bulova watch versus a Citizen watch versus a Rolex, versus an Armatron. You can go the entire width and breadth of the topic. But
if you get an idea based on reading reviews and stuff and get a census or a general sentiment of different types of watches to actually recommend, couldn't it?
But you could. But what if those reviews are fake, like you had mentioned earlier? Then you're pulling in false information, and then the whole thing just collapses on itself. So again, it involves a little bit more nuance than just going and generating
the source. I mean, you just look at the recently DeepSeek is all the rage that came out. They put out their latest version last week as of this recording, and then the following week on Monday the markets crashed because now everybody's freaking out that you don't really need billions of dollars. You can do it on the inexpensive. But someone just basically disproved how valuable DeepSeek is with using me. They posted online today. They said they asked DeepSeek, "Who is Kevin King?" And it came back with so much garbage about. It said, I started Amazing.com, and then I specialize in drop shipping, and this and that and the other. It's just so freaking wrong. And then they typed the same comment into ChatGPT, and it was dead on accurate and much more detailed. So it's garbage in, garbage out. But that's the problem I see. It's just people start using something like a DeepSeek or other tools that are out there that are just wrong to create their blog articles and their SEO and all this stuff. Right. And it just starts a vicious cycle of other people using AI as shortcuts instead of writing it as a human. And you get this massive amount of just garbage that you don't know who to believe and who's an authority and who's not an authority, because you can put garbage on an authority site with all the right backlinks and it's still garbage.
Right. Well, Kev, like when I ran that report, I was shocked that it didn't go deep enough. The deep fake report about you, that it didn't talk about your beginning as a Chippendale dancer.
That's why I was upset, because it missed some fundamental,
some really great stuff about you. And you went from a Chippendale dancer, like one of the top, right? You were the chip of the Dales.
I put on all this weight, and then nobody would pay attention.
When you did that, you went into Foxy Boxing. So.
There you go. And that's stuff they could have found on your Wikipedia page. It just exactly. A little bit of scrubbing.
I quit editing my Wikipedia page. Dang it, I got to turn the editing off of there. That's how it has too much authority.
Yeah, absolutely. But to your point about figuring out the authority piece in all this is, when you're looking at something like that, you want somebody who has both width or breadth and depth on the topic that they're talking about. So like somebody who is like in my space doing SEO, like talking about all these little instances and doing things like that, that would be an example of an understanding, at least not an authority necessarily, but an understanding of the workings of what's going on. And those are the type of things that you have to look for. And then, given my example, like the intent behind the intent, sure, you could fake that. But like if you were to go and look for, just as an example, like mid-size SUV under $55,000, every single one on that list is going to be wrong. It's not going to be an SUV. It's not going to be under $55,000, and it's not going to match your criteria for safety. Like, if you just go through
with OpenAI's new operator, it's in beta right now for the $200 a month pro users, where it's actually doing travel and doing some different restaurant stuff, where it's actually taking over the browser like a built-in mini browser and actually recreating what a human would be doing all this massive research and then spitting back something out. How do you SEO to that? Because it's not a human looking at it. It's not a human that's making these judgments based on a human. It's a machine making judgments based on what's going to serve up to you. So is there a different type of SEO that you have to do? Do you have to ride the line, I guess, what I'm saying both ways right now, for humans and for machines when you're doing SEO?
Well, yeah, that's always been the case. So the way that I've always looked at SEO is that Google, first and foremost, is an advertising platform. They have a search engine, but that's only so they can show the ads. But the purpose of Google having that search engine is to be able to terminate that search for the user. They want to be able to provide the best result based on however they measure their criteria and their algorithm, get that user to click, and hopefully they don't bounce off that site. And the bounce rate is one of those things that can affect where a site is ranking. So to your point, if somebody's going through a list of best watches for Father's Day 2025, and they click on the site and within 10 seconds they go, nah, this isn't what I want, and they back out, Google's going to count that as a negative against that site, because the user was browsing, it didn't match the intent of what that keyword was, and they backed out and went to the next one and went to the next one until they found the thing they were looking for, however far down the page. But to your point, a lot of the stuff that's happening now is we're still writing for humans and machines at the same time when we do a lot of this stuff. On the back end, GPT is going to come and scrape the website and figure that out. But I think the more branding that you have around your business, the more authority that you're able to not necessarily manufacture, but the more authority you're able to put in that brand. So things like press releases, putting out videos, putting out podcasts like you're doing here, different types of media, because there are so many different ways that people browse that information. So if somebody goes to, let's say they go to ChatGPT and they say, hey, I want you to find the top 10 Pinterest pins for this particular topic. And if you're not on Pinterest, you're not included in that search. To your point, that operator will go to Pinterest, go and do the result look, and go figure out what images are the top 10 ones, and then pull back the URLs into the system and say, here they are categorized by volume and this many searches and this many repins and this many shares and all that other stuff, and just show algorithmically, here's the data. But if you're not playing on any of those platforms, you're missing that traffic pool.
If I take a look throughout the last 20, 30 years, and this goes back right throughout time, tides change, right? Ebbs and flows. Now, are we starting to see that with Google and Perplexity? Is Google starting to move out and Perplexity starting to move in?
They have a percentage of market share, but I don't think as a search engine that it's going to go anywhere. So like the stuff that SEOs wind up doing isn't going to change. What changes is the platform that data is being accessed through. So to your point, Perplexity could go ahead and do a Google scrape, figure out the top 5, and then filter and parse categorically based on their algorithm on which ones are the best sites based on user experience, G2 reviews, Capterra reviews, Amazon reviews, whatever the platform is of choice that verifies that specific market sector. So like for local, it's usually Google Maps with the reviews, or Yelp, or TripAdvisor. For e-com, it's going to be Amazon or their actual site with the reviews on it. So those things are going to be pulled in as a feature of what comes in from the search. It's augmenting the search with that information. So if you have all those pieces that they're going to be looking for, because at the end of the day, the AIs are emulating human behavior. They're doing it in a really streamlined version of what human behavior is, but it's the same thing. They're trying to get to the result as fast as possible.
But isn't Perplexity learning from Google to become better?
Not with the JavaScript turned on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, and the other question I have about this is, we market to YouTube, we market to Google, we market to Bing. Is there ways that we can market for Perplexity to pick up search ranking?
Yes. So they have specific bots that will come and crawl your site. And if you look at the site logs that you may have for your webpage, it'll tell you what the name of the bot is. You could, and this is a black hat disclaimer, you could do this. I don't recommend it, but you could serve up a version of that page specifically for that bot. You could say, if this bot comes to crawl this page, serve it this information.
If it honors that, the bots sometimes don't honor those commands, though.
Yeah, but you can. If you're a black hat person, you could play with that.
Yeah.
But the idea is you're not really playing that game. But I would watch for when they come and crawl and add stuff to their database, because you can see how often that bot is pinging your website. Like recently, probably within the past 2-3 years, Apple bots started showing up because they started crawling and finding information for them to go build out their version of Apple Places, or whatever it's called, their alternative to Google Maps.
Right.
They started scraping websites looking for that additional information to categorize their stuff. But up until that point, nobody had ever seen Applebot before. But now people watch for it, and every time they come, they have a payload of local data waiting for it. And they say, okay, here's the newest information about our business. Here's all the reviews that we have on Google. We're just going to give you that box of stuff. Go take it back to the system and process.
How about, though, with SEO? I mean, in the past, if I want to know, I don't know, if I want to know the answer to a topic, back to the watches or whatever, the top 10 watches, I would go type that into Google and see what Google spit back out and try to find something that matched my needs, that told me an idea for the watch. Versus now you have stuff like Gemini has, what's it called? Deep intelligence, deep knowledge, deep research.
Yeah.
And you can go in there and custom program exactly what you want and tell it, prompt it and say, analyze all the the past trends through. You can even tie it to APIs if you want to, but on Helium 10 for this product for this category for the I don't know, the pinup, the wall calendar category that the calendars you pin up on your wall for the last 3 years, and predict look at the trends and the ups and downs and what happened, analyze Google Trends and analyze all this other stuff, analyze the last 20 years of history, and stuff tends to cycle and go in cycles every 20 years, and say predict what's going to be the hot calendars for next year. And it will come back with about an 80 to 85% accuracy of this is what's going to be hot in January of 2026. And so I can then take that information, I can roll the dice, and I can actually get ahead of it instead of doing research that's based on past only. I can actually analyze the past and predict the future with some of this stuff. And how does that affect SEO? Because then I can come out and have the counter if I don't know, trolls are going to be hot in 2025. That's what it predicts the next best thing. There's a 15% chance maybe that it's not, but also if I just launch any random product, it's 15% chance it's going to fail anyway. So how is that going to affect SEO once people get better at prompting, or do you think people just will never really get better at prompting? It's just going to be the geeks and the researchers that are good at it, and the average person is going to still be lazy and depend on the SEO serving it up.
No, I mean, I'm seeing it even now. Like I've got, younger generation siblings, and they're using GPT in ways that I'm not even thinking of. When they're looking for stuff, they go to GPT before they go to Google now because they just have it in their pocket and, ask the question and get the answer they're looking for. But with your point with a lot of the automation stuff and predictive analytics, that's all stuff that can be built in. So if you're looking at your analytics data and your search console data, barring Google, doing some totalitarian algorithm update, you should, with fairly good predictability, be able to feed that data into their system and say, okay, based on this, what should I focus on next? What should my next topics be? What can I do to make this work better? How do I get the user to see this as a zero-click search result? Zero-click means the little box at the top that just kind of is the AI-generated piece whenever you do a search now. And you can ask it questions like that, and it'll say, well, you're missing this markup, or this thing might not be on the page, and here's what I would add to the site if I were you. So you can kind of use AI to predict what the user's going to want based on those past trends, and then work that into the existing pages.
I wonder if it'll just be a series of small questions or prompts. So you can have regular search or just have an advanced search with maybe 3 or 4 questions.
Yeah, like a topic drill down.
Yeah.
And I look at search the same way most people look at navigating department stores or Walmart, for example. And that's how search has always kind of been structured. You walk into the Walmart, the website, all the little banners are hanging up overhead. It's your main nav. And then you walk to the aisle, find the item that you want, and then go to the register and check out. And that's kind of the same way that the data is structured for AI. But instead of you having to go look at the store map, you just have somebody waiting at the front that says, take me to the, men's workout shirts in a size 2X in black. And they go, okay, and take you right to that aisle and hand you the shirt. That's the difference, is you're removing the buyer's journey by getting people what they want on the first shot. So as long as what you're doing with your website and your information is what people are looking for, overall ranking, click-through rate, all those different things that Google's taking into account, the AI will be able to see some of that when it goes to scrape the search result.
Are you looking to quickly boost new Amazon product launches or scale up existing listings to reach first page positioning? The influencer platform Stack Influence can help.
That's right. Stack Influence pushes high volume external traffic, sales straight to Amazon listings using micro influencers that you only have to pay with your products.
They've helped up-and-coming brands like Magic Spoon compete with Cheerios for top category positioning, while also helping Fortune 500 brands like Unilever launch their new products.
Right now is one of the best times to get started with Stack Influence. You can sign up at stackinfluence.com or click the link in this video down in the description or notes below and mention Misfits, that's MISFITS, to get 10% off your first campaign. stackinfluence.com. But from a
So with
marketer, I
your-
don't know if I like that, because then you're taking me straight to the men's shirt and 2X, and I'm not getting to stop and peruse stuff along the way that I might buy that I didn't know I wanted, that I didn't even come for to buy. So isn't that
Right.
going to hurt me from a marketing point of view?
Yeah. I mean, in the long run, absolutely.
or
But-
it'll prompt you at the end.
Right. Yeah. If they're designing it correctly and it's working as a assistant, as everybody likes to call them, and working as a tailor of some sort. Hey, you found the workout shirt you were looking for. Do you also need a new pair of shorts? Are you looking for, wrist protectors for when you go to lift the dumbbells? That kind of stuff. Are you looking for a protein supplement? Or it could ask questions like, what type of workout are you looking to go to? Oh, I'm going to go train for a marathon. Cool. Here's some running shoes that also might work for you based on what the information you've given me. Bang, 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 bang. And then that's where that Perplexity affiliate link comes in handy.
So based on your audits that you're doing, or maybe clients, or just what you see nowadays with different websites, what are things that people are just missing out on? And then like just things that they've just missed. Simple, easy to correct. And then
Common mistakes.
what are some of the common mistakes? No, the two different things, Kev.
Okay.
So what are they just missing out? And then what are some common mistakes?
Sure. So the main thing that they're missing out, like I mentioned earlier, with this algorithmic update that happened last year, this EEAT update, as they're calling it, which is expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. I forget what the other E is because it always just used to be EAT. They added a second E. I don't know what it stands for. I don't care. But the point being is that you should be not only creating your brand on your website, but throughout the internet. Like if you think of it from the old school days, if you were a brick and mortar business, you wouldn't just put a sign out front that says open for lunch. You would go probably put a bunch of stuff down by a construction site because all the boys, there might be a construction yard down the way or a contractor. You go hand out menus over there and they'd come in for lunch whenever they got on lunch break. You would go maybe sponsor a local event for kids, youth group, YMCA, something like that. And you would provide sandwiches and then hand out business cards. You want to be in as many places as possible, and you want people to know that those places exist. So claiming your brand on as many pages or websites that is applicable to your business as possible is going to help you to swing that. That also gives you additional places where you can post content most times. So like if you go claim a WordPress, a Blogger, a Tumblr, a Medium.com, and a Pinterest, you've got 4 blogging platforms and an image share site. And then you can go and put image UR in there. And then now you've got an additional image site. But everything that you're posting on your website fits into one or all of those different buckets. So if you're a local business, you're going to want, like I said before, like TripAdvisor, Yelp.com, maybe one of the reservation sites, Resi, to have your business out there so you can get more people in the door. But having your brand established on all of those profiles with the same information, whether you're a brick and mortar business or not, but having all of your pertinent information and then having links to each of those additional properties somewhere on that page. Like, hey, here's our website, but also here's every social channel we own. Like they do it on YouTube brilliantly. You go to the channel and then they have that little bar on the side that has, X and Facebook and Blogger and all that stuff. And you just add as many of those in as you can, because when Google comes to look at it, they will then see, oh, you're also active on these other sites. When was the last time you posted there? What did you post? Oh, you posted an image with a link back to a blog post about an article or a product you just launched. Let me go check that out. Oh, I found this keyword. Now this also tells me that you had put out a press release. Let me go find those. And now you have this interconnected web of stuff that at any given time you hit publish, and now it's showing up everywhere. A great example is using AI and automation to go ahead and build out miniature podcasts. So let's say I want to talk about a topic. I could plug in a topic into a Google Sheet. That would go into an automation, and something like make.com use my voice and then write me a 3-minute podcast episode about that topic and have it post directly to SoundCloud, let's say. And then on the back end, I have that hooked to Spotify for podcasters. So now that goes to an additional 12 services that I don't have to pay attention to. That's 12 additional sites that I'm now stacking keywords in, that I'm spending time 3 minutes of coming up with topics and plugging them in and waiting for them to publish. And now I've got topical relevance for every single one of those things because I have a blog or a podcast on 10 different websites. And now I've got 10 different URLs that I can go rank in the search results. And then now I own page one because I have 10 URLs, and everybody knows 10 blue links on the homepage when you go to search for that keyword.
Now, back in the day, you know this well. I'm sure you know this well. Just about private networks. Mm-hmm. We used to just spin really bad, but content, tons of it, right?
Right.
Is that something you, not that really poor quality?
Can you explain what people listening don't know what spin is, Norm, just so that they know what that means?
Well, we would take these already crappy articles and we would just turn them into variations and variations and variations.
Rewrite the same thing.
Yeah, and that one article might be written 25 times or more. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, with what you were just talking about with that 3-minute spot, mm-hmm. because you're using your voice, but it's artificial, can you just drop in there that you want to use these 25 different keywords in these 25 different podcasts, mm-hmm. and then spin it out that way?
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yep. And then, so every topic that I want to cover, or I can pull something I've written on my website. And obviously, after I've gone through and edited it, I can have it pull that article and have me do a talking synopsis of it, and then hot link that podcast link in that article. So now that'll link out to the service and then show, hey, you can subscribe to this podcast, which is just me talking about the blog post on these 10 services. And now Google knows that every time I post something in that category, that I have an audio podcast that corresponds with that, that's listed on these other 10 properties that it wasn't paying attention to previously.
So we did that with, we were doing an influencer style, not event, but we would post different audiences for different products that had multiple avatars. Mm-hmm. And this is another really great way. I'm just thinking about this now. So you have a product, and that product might hit 5 different avatars. Mm-hmm. You could take that podcast or take that article, take the blog article, turn it into a script, make that script break down into 5 different not podcast styles to your avatar, mm-hmm. and then publish it. It would all have basically the same content, but worded more directly towards your avatar.
Right. Yeah. To the personas.
Yeah. So, and we've already been doing that with Amazon with the influencer program. Mm-hmm. So that we would see products and we would just change the TikTok scripts that we were writing for these different personas.
Yeah. That's exact same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah. That's I really wasn't thinking about that, but I can see a lot of different ways that you can do that quite easily and automate it easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that. One of the other things we're automating right now through Make and a few additional services is we're automating infographics. Mm. So we have it where, let's say you want to promote a product, it'll go ahead, do the perplexity research on that product, use GPT to write up what goes in the boxes for the infographic. And then at the bottom of that, it actually has a hot link or a short link out to that product with your company information and a little blurb about you at the bottom. And then
you can take that information and upload it into Napkin and have a really nice infographic.
Right. And then you can upload it to the rest of the infographic platforms as well. And then take the text that was on that infographic, stick it in the sidebar. Because although Google can kind of read images, it's really not that great. Yep. It's the same reason why your YouTube description has to be as long as it is. Because that helps them to figure out, and same thing with the transcript on YouTube. If that has all the keywords and stuff in it, that also helps.
And they want time codes and the transcripts too for SEO.
Yep, absolutely.
So you mentioned before when we were having a cigar, speaking of YouTube, that you could rank any YouTube video on the first page of Google for almost anything. Can you explain how is that? I mean, you can't give away your exact magic sauce, but what's that process like? Is it creating a lot of backlinks? Is that by just making sure it's optimized properly, or what is because this is something I want to do with you, because Norm and I want to rank Marketing Misfits on the first page of Google for every little topic that we have on all of our stuff. So what
Sure.
what do we need to be doing?
So disclaimer. you can, but before we jump into that, because saying you can rank any YouTube video, somebody's gonna be like, no, and I can prove it. So before we go down that rabbit hole, for most longer tail videos, yes, you can wind up on the page. You're not going to show up for payday loans or stuff like that. So if it's a product, if it's a service plus location, stuff like that, you have a better propensity to be able to do it. For the shorter tail, higher volume keywords, it's going to take a lot more than what we were talking about to do this. But what we do have is there's a number of things in YouTube that work very well for getting it to, show up better. So as we talked about before, engagement, so bounce rate and view time on the videos, same as it is on web pages. How long are they there? What are they watching? When do they drop off? That's important. And then the other one that's important to them is links, citations, and shares. So I have a system that we go ahead and we do exactly that. Take the URL, take a few keywords, and go ahead and distribute it across a network of websites that we've built that do all that. And then we let Google come and naturally find them and crawl them and index them and do their thing. It's not an overnight process by any stretch, but it will create at least the baseline to be able to make that consistent jump. And then we can do additional things to the back of that to make it work. So Norm is probably familiar with this. We've chatted about it a little bit. You're familiar with parasite SEO. So using a site that's not your website in order to rank for a keyword.
Yeah.
So a thing a lot of people don't pay attention to is, like I was mentioning earlier, all those branded properties that you should be building out for your company for authoritativeness and trust and stuff. You can build backlinks to those, and those will count for actually showing up. So you can power up additional things. So like, for example, your LinkedIn profile, you can power up. And anytime you make a post about something like that, because you are a person who is managing company XYZ, every time you post about and tag company XYZ, all the backlinks that are hitting your LinkedIn profile are now helping to drive company XYZ up for whatever you just wrote the content about. So you can do things like that are, relatively easy. Another one, a lot of people don't know, speaking of LinkedIn, is if you have Clear, the pre-check program here in the States, if you have Clear, you automatically get verified on LinkedIn for free if you plug in your Clear ID.
Really?
So that's another way to do the verification we were talking about earlier. So to be verified as a person, LinkedIn will match you to your Clear ID and then automatically give you the check.
They took mine away. Damn Clear Plus.
I was Canadian. I can't trust them until you're. Once you become the 51st state, then maybe you can. Do it again. But until then, I didn't know that about Clear. I actually have to do that because that's a cool little technique. So basically, it comes down to what you're saying is SEO. It's going to come down in the future. It's authority, and it's the tools are going to, Google and these guys are going to figure out how to shift through the riffraff of AI. And like the example you gave now of the new JavaScript enabled to see if it's human or not human, they're going to be taking steps like that because they're going to protect that $235 billion in ad revenue the best they can, even though their CEO has come out and said that we expect to see a downturn.
Right.
But they're going to protect that the best they can. So what do you see in where's the future going with SEO? Do you think it's status quo, or do you think it's going to have some minor shifts or some huge shifts coming in the next few years?
So it's going to have its shifts like anything else. There'll be your main site, which will have all your stuff on it, but more and more people are becoming more compartmentalized, I'm seeing, on social media platforms. So like you've got certain groups of people that only go on Instagram, and that's where they browse and that's where they buy. Some people only go on TikTok for as long as that stays around, and they browse and they buy. But I'm finding more and more those people are not necessarily not using websites, but they're going into communities. So like, for example, Google went ahead and put, I think it was like $50 million last year into Reddit. And then mysteriously overnight, all of the Reddit threads are starting to show up for keywords at the top of the page.
Yep.
So the reason behind that, and it's making sense because it's trending that way, is more and more people are trusting less and less websites. They want to know, they see an ad for something. They know that AI generated stuff is out there. Especially you can get like these UGC videos made for like $5 or $6 a pop using certain pieces of software of like a talking head holding your product and stuff nowadays. So people are going onto these sites. They're going onto Reddit, Quora. They're going back onto discussion forums. So all the old school forum days are coming back because people are trying to find communities of people who are like-minded about that topic and ask them a question like, hey, is this legit? I keep seeing these ads everywhere, but I think it's the same guy from this other commercial. Are they doing AI generated stuff, or is this actually a product? Is this a hoax or not? And sometimes the brands are jumping in on those platforms and like trying to respond to those. So I'm seeing a lot of that type of stuff go on. And I'm sure, especially like with Amazon stuff and e-com, that conversation obviously happens both on Amazon and then on other platforms as well.
I've heard it go even farther than that in the near future, so a couple of years out, that there won't be websites. Yeah. So, and this was a guy, a very good marketer. Kevin, I think you were there when we were talking. I've been talking to him since then, but he's adamant that there won't be a reason, especially for local, to have SEO. And he gave me an example of a dog walker who also has these other pet services, doesn't have a website, doesn't want a website. All of her business comes off of Facebook, kind of like what you're talking about right now. So there's no need for it.
Right.
So it's interesting, but he was pretty adamant. He knows the game, and he won't invest in websites.
Right.
So, and that's as of now. So, what was the other? There was another. Oh, this is just kind of a comment. Kevin, do you remember I was on, you invited me once, then never invited me again, but to Helium 10 Elite.
Yeah. After you blew it, I couldn't invite you back.
Yeah, that's right. Very popular. So I wanted to show authority, but this goes back to 2019, and Kevin gave me no authority. But so I wanted to show what we were doing back then with SEO, and this was for bully sticks, so very this is competitive. So I came up with keyword, put the keyword on, and Google, the search engine, came down and it said Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Chewy. And then it went into press releases from 3 years earlier. Then it came down, you had all the photographs were ours. Then there was a whole bunch that didn't look like ours, but they were all influencer based. More press releases. Went to the next page. We owned the first 2 pages with, except for 2 spots on the second page. And then it even went into the third. But that's all just highly optimized authority. And this is, it ticks me off. I'll go and I'll talk about how powerful content and press releases are. And people will either think that, I'll get a $49 press release. I'll run it once and, it doesn't work.
Right.
And like, I can show them proof and owning the first page or the second page now it's not necessarily your website, but it's your social, your website, and influencers and press releases, and you can dominate.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what we're talking about with the Parasite SEO.
By the way, he never invited me back, even with that very impressive authority thing.
Yeah, but that's, to your point, that's kind of the Parasite SEO stuff that we're talking about, is how many platforms can you be active on? How many places can people find you? What corner of the internet? Because, like, for example, I think we had chatted through this example when we were sitting down having cigars. But let's say I'm an older person living in Florida and my AC unit blows out. Chances of me going to Google and typing in HVAC near me, probably pretty good. Am I going to click on the Google guaranteed in the ads? Probably not, because as an older person, this hypothetical, I don't trust that. It's not a business I've seen in the real world, but I know who the BBB is. So I'm more likely to click on the Better Business Bureau because of my age demographic and my reluctance of using the internet, because we don't get yellow pages anymore. But my reluctance to use that, I'm going with something that I know in my head is a verified source. And I'm clicking that and I'm booking it through there. So that's a perfect example of somebody who's not going to pay attention to your Google guaranteed. They're not going to pay attention to your paid ads. They're not going to pay attention to your GMB, and they're probably not going to visit your website. But they know that the BBB exists. And as a local business, that's something you can have in your back pocket. That's an additional place for people to find you. But that's kind of what we're talking into is how widespread is your brand? You know, thinking of like what Coca-Cola does as a great example. They're everywhere. Yeah. You know the colors, you know the everything. Like they even have it where you go to like Star Wars Land in Disney, and it doesn't quite say Coca-Cola on the bottle, but you know it says Coca-Cola because they wrote it in some weird little glyph alien language thing. But you know it's Coke because of the coloring and the everything else. And like that's going to become the thing. To that point, on the other side of SEO and getting into how this is going to evolve, there are tools out there that allow you to take control of your brand on everybody else's platform. So there's a tool out there called Awario, Awario. And it's the same tool that Southwest Airlines and Disney use to manage their social media profiles. But you plug in your keywords, you plug in your brand information, you plug in your products, and it will monitor wherever people are talking about online: blogs, forums, Reddit, YouTube, all the socials, news websites, and allow you to have an active conversation with that user when they post it from your branded account, whether it's somebody who's on whether it's you're a larger company and it's your C-suite, or it's somebody using the actual company brand social. But having those out there and being able to engage with a user when something happens, like Southwest cancels a flight, somebody writes an angry tweet, and 10 seconds later, Southwest is responding directly to that person saying, "Hey, check your DMs. We have something for you." And they're, rebooking them on the next flight and just taking care of customer service and brand management like that. And I think that's where SEO and a lot of the social stuff is going to start to merge. It's like you have to have that presence and be a trusted authority, but also you have to be able to respond to customers. Like it's going to be, dual service type thing.
Hey, Kevin King and Norm Farrar here. If you've been enjoying this episode of Marketing Misfits, thanks for listening this far. Continue listening. We got some more valuable stuff coming up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast player, or if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you subscribe to our channel because you don't want to miss a single episode of the Marketing Misfits. Have you subscribed yet, Norm?
Well, this is an old guy alert. Should I subscribe to my own podcast?
Yeah, but what if you forget to show up one time and it's just me on here? You're not going to know what I say.
I'll buy you a beard and you can sit in my chair too. And you can go back and forth with one another. Yikes! But that being said, don't forget to subscribe, share it. Oh, and if you really like this content, somewhere up there's a banner. Click on it and you'll go to another episode of the Marketing Misfits.
Make sure you don't miss a single episode because you don't want to be like Norm.
Oh. Yeah, I remember back in the day, and this goes back in the 2000s, but just starting to monitor keywords. I think we started with Hootsuite way back in the day, and you would just monitor those keywords and then get involved with the tweets that were happening or wherever it was happening. This sounds probably more sophisticated than the old hashtag.
Yep.
And alert.
It'll do all that. Plus it'll figure out brand reach, number of impressions based on how you responded, all that kind of stuff, user sentiment. But the other cool thing is that now, because you can see into everybody's yard where they're talking about you, you have the ability to go in there and have that conversation and drop a link or a coupon code. Now you're building backlinks on these platforms in resolving a problem with a customer, and now they're going back to your site anyway. So now you're dropping links everywhere that people are having conversations about you.
Nice. Well, we're getting to the end of the podcast. Kev, do you have any other questions?
I've got a bunch, but we'll just have to bring him back, or we'll just have to hire him. I mean, if I wanted to hire you, to do some of this for Marketing Misfits or my companies, Dan, how would I do that?
You can reach me on LinkedIn, or you can go to my agency website, which is Miss Pepper, MISS Pepper, like the plant.ai.
All right. Very good. Now, there is one question I got to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of every podcast, we ask our misfits if they know a misfit.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
okay. if I was going to bring in a misfit for you guys, I would like to recommend or nominate Chris Moore. Chris Moore is to put it nicely, he is a marketing kingmaker. He is the type of guy that goes into a company, runs special ops, black ops type stuff in the background. And in one of the companies he's working on right now, they have 7x bottom line revenue in the past 12 months.
Wow.
Wow.
And straight up marketing, knows his stuff. He's got his fingers in several different businesses, but he talks a lot about consulting for equity.
Okay.
As a play.
A good topic too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate
All
that.
right, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to remove you, but we'll come right back to you a bit later.
All right. See you guys later.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
You got
Appreciate
it.
it.
Bye, guys.
Mr. King.
That time flew by. I looked at the clock and I was like, dang, we've already been talking over an hour.
I know.
Like, when you start geeking out on fun stuff, on marketing stuff, time just flies.
Sometimes when you're listening to something about SEO, especially if you're not a geek or you don't know the technical terms, your eyes kind of roll back in the bottom of your head or the back of your head. You fall to the ground in the fetal position. That's usually what I do. But it's so interesting. If you get just a small grip on any of this, it can help your marketing so much. And just understanding it. Now, we've talked about this a million times, Kev, that you don't have to be an expert in it. You just need to understand it. And then you can go hire experts like Dan to get the job done and get it done really well.
I'm sure Marketing Misfits and Dragonfish is going to be using Dan for several things. So you and I know quite a bit and we've been around the block a few times, but we're not experts in everything and not living and breathing it day in, day out like someone like Dan is. It's on top of just like that latest thing with Google that he brought up with the JavaScript thing. We didn't have any idea because we're not following that world as closely as he is, and so that don't be afraid to reach out and actually hire people like this. And when it comes to SEO, it's one of the most important things that's probably underutilized by a lot of people, and it is something that's not short term, just like he said, I'm ranking the YouTube. It's not something you're going to see immediate results for. So that's why a lot of people don't do it. They rather spend money on ads on Facebook or on social media and see an ROI or a ROAS really quickly and know if it's working or not. On SEO, it can be 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, a year sometimes before it really starts kicking in. And it's hard for some people to make that commitment and to be consistent and to keep that up with a payday that's a year down the road.
I've had guys or people that we've done work with, and as soon as they become successful, they stop. So it might be 8 months into it and we're successful. Like it's just going to be constantly optimizing or constantly going to be providing backlinks. They stop and they tank.
Yep.
So if you start it, you're just going to waste your money if you...
This needs to be part of your marketing. SEO should be a key part of your marketing and a key part where you put the money in. And just like he said with Coca-Cola still spends money everybody knows Coke in the world. It's one of the most recognized brands, if not the most recognized in the entire world. But they're still running ads on the Super Bowl. They're still doing sponsoring events and still doing things because you got to stay out there on top of mind and remind people that you exist. And SEO is exactly one of those types of things.
Okay. Well, enough said. I think that's it, Mr. King.
Yeah, that's all for this time. So if you like this episode, be sure to share it. Just like he said, make sure you share this episode. Don't just like it. You can do that too, but share it with somebody repost it. Feel free to grab the share link there and repost it on your own social media.
The bloody bell.
And ring the bell and say, hey, you got to check this out. Check out the Marketing Misfits. This is cool. Norm even wears diapers sometimes. So you guys
Sometimes.
check this out.
Sometimes.
Because he did say he's
I'm old and I can't stay for an hour. I got to usually shut off the camera.
I told you to quit drinking those Coke Zeros before we sit down for these hour-long things.
Hey,
but
men,
you said,
men diapers work. They work.
I don't care.
All right, everybody. Oh, by the way, where can people check us out?
It's marketingmisfits.
Let me check my diaper. It's .co.
.co. Yeah, marketingmisfits.co. Check us out there and be sure to check out a new episode every single Tuesday. We'll be back again next week.
See you.
See ya.